Hello. Happy Halloween. I want to talk about scary stories. But first, I want to show you these amazing things I made. How adorable are those? They're Rice Krispie treats. Okay, let me put them down and put the phone in the tripod. Okay, scariest of all scary stories. What is the scariest possible story? What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? I don't know what it is for me. What is it for you? And I ask because you're telling it to yourself. Is it that you are not enough? Is it that your life is meaningless? Is it that everything is meaningless and pointless? Is it that you'll never be the person you want to be? Is it that you'll never succeed? Is it that you'll never create? Is it that you'll never be a parent? Is it that you'll never, be loved? Is it that your family never loved you? Is it that no one will ever really get you? Is it that it's not safe to be you? What is the story here that is scaring you? And I mean scaring you on such a deep level, you will do just about anything to avoid it. And by anything to avoid it, I mean staying busy, keeping yourself busy, stressing yourself out, getting yourself sick, getting yourself into bad relationships, going from one thing to the next, so you just don't have to deal with it. I call it the drama tornadoes, right? That the drama tornadoes are constantly spinning and they seem actionable. They seem like something you can solve in the moment, so you attach all of your energy to it trying to fix the drama tornado when really what needs to, your focus is the fear back here, the existential fear. I'm not enough. Life is meaningless. Life is purposeless. I am meaningless. I'm not loved. Nobody loves me. Blah, 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 blah. What is the story that you're telling yourself? Like, get real. What is your scary story? What is your scary story? Because I know for me, the deepest fear at the end of it, and there's layers to this, right? So you might have to go through layers. The layers of it is, I'm going to be alone. If I'm alone, then what's the point? And I'm going to be alone because I'm worthless, right? And that is the core of it. Then not only am I separate from life, I'm separate from spirit and universe and God and whatever you want to call it, but all of the gifts that I have, or that I tell myself I have, or that I think that I have, or like all this grandeur that I build myself up to be on a daily basis is pointless because actually, I'm meaningless and worthless. And I'm worthless, right? That is the scary story in my head. Let's be real. Let's be real. We each have one. That is the scary story in my head. What is it in yours? Because that's the story you're telling yourself every single day, and you may not even realize it. Because you're telling it to yourself by fighting against it and by doing everything you can to get away from it. But it's like being on a stationary bike. You are spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning, but the foundation is still holding you there. And so your entire life is busy with what I call drama tornadoes, distracting you from what really needs your attention, which is the fear itself, the scary story itself. That mortal wound itself. You get me? Hey, Alan. I'm heading out your way in a moment, actually, for trick-or-treating. Anyway, so I'll make this quick, but I just want to know, what is the scary story in your head? What is the story you're telling yourself? Because that story needs your attention more than anything else. That story is where you want to shift everything that you're doing and realize that that's actually the message that you're getting at. And what by that I mean, if your core story is I'm not loved, if your scariest story is I'm not loved, then everything you're doing is probably some attempt to feel loved, to prove that you're loved, to gain love, to gain acceptance, to validate that you're loved, right? And so that means you're spinning on that stationary bike, and it might look like overgiving. It might look like being in relationships that actually aren't great for you because they're going to prove that you're not loved, and there's the core wound that you're not loved. So you have to keep going from relationship to relationship trying to prove that you're loved. And you can probably talk about your bad relationships with your friends because they're going to say, no, you are loved. And so you're in this spiral of not being loved just to have other people say, no, you are loved. But really, at the end of the day, you're just wondering if you're lovable because that's your core wound. See what I'm getting at? I know that was really fast, but you see what I'm getting at? So we create all these circumstances in our lives either to patch over the worry, the deep, deep fear that we are not that thing, or we create circumstances to try to get validation that we are that thing. Either way, I bet 90% of your life is used up. Your energy is 90% being spent trying to prove this to yourself one way or another. And how freeing would it be if you acknowledged the fear and you sat with that instead? This is the power of meditation, right? And I'm not trying to promote meditation here. That's not the point, but it's an amazing tool to face that fear head on. And don't just jump into it on your own if you've never done it, because for some people it can be incredibly triggering, and I want you to have safety and a safe space held. So find a teacher, be with somebody else, make sure that you can handle it, have a good friend on call, work with somebody. But we've got to just face that fear, because the fear is what's holding us hostage. Not only holding us hostage by having us not do things, but holding us hostage by having us spend 90% of our energy spinning on that stationary bike, trying to avoid that feeling one way or the other. What a waste. What a waste of a life, right? What a waste of a life. It is a waste of my life to continually be putting myself in circumstances to prove whether or not I am worthy. It's a waste of my life. The point is moot if I make it so, right? If I decide that. But this story that I tell myself about how I am worthless and am I really worthy, and is it really, it takes up so much energy and effort, and it takes me away from things I could be doing, like creating, like connecting, like being honest, like being real. But instead we're locked in our own scary story, right? And everything's getting filtered through that story. So you and I have an interaction, and I come out of it being like, oh, did I say the wrong thing? I don't know if they like me, blah, 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 blah. Because it's all through the filter of worthiness for me, right? That's my biggest scary story. Hey, Glenda. But for you, the story may be different. But either way, we're spending, ridiculous amounts of time on this, on this story, spinning it through, trying to prove it one way or the other. And it's not a good use of time. It's not a good use of your life. In fact, there is so much more vibrance and beauty and creativity and magic in you that we're not even able to get to and access because we're just spinning our wheels with this story. So I'm going to make it super quick because it's a fun day and I don't want to bring everybody down, but I want you to have it in your mind. What is the scary story you're telling yourself? And I mean the real one. Not like, oh, I'm never going to have money, but what happens if you never have money? Right? What does that mean? Well, that means I'm never going to have what I want. Well, okay, what happens if you never get what you want? Well, then I'll never get to explore the world. Great. What happens if you never get to explore the world? Well, then I'll never live up to my potential. What happens if you don't live up to your potential? Well, I've wasted my life. Okay, what does that mean if you've wasted your life? Well, it means that I'm meaningless. Like, I want you to drill down from the superficial level of fear all the way down to the core scary story that's at the heart of everything pretty much that you do. And then I want you to explore, how is it showing up? Where am I trying to defend myself against that truth, potential truth? Where am I trying to validate that it's not true? Where am I trying to validate that the opposite's true, that I actually am worthy, that I am loved, that I am lovable, whatever the opposite of your scary story is? I want you to really look at that. Where are you doing it with friends? Where are you doing it with career? Where are you doing it with yourself? Where are you doing it with your body and fitness? Where are you doing it with family? And then just truly ask yourself, what would I be like? How would I feel? What would I do if this wasn't there? If I didn't have to see the world through this lens? If I just knew that it was true, like I know that it rains sometimes, like knew that it was true, like I know that the earth is solid, like knew that it's true, like I know that if I'm thirsty, I have water. If you knew something so deeply that you don't even think about it, right? What else is there? What's next? What potential is there for you? How might you feel? What might you do? What might you choose to spend your energy on? What would you talk about? What would you think about? So, a couple parts to this. Hope you caught those. Drill down as much as you can to what that core is of the scary, scary story. Look at all the things you're doing and make a list. Actually write this out. It's really important. Like, actually pick up a pen, take a piece of paper, old school style, and write out, how am I spending my time either defending against this story, keeping busy so I don't have to look at this story, validating that this is true, validating that it's not true, and that I actually am lovable or worthy or enough or whatever the core fear is for you. not alone, you know, connected, whatever it is. And then the third piece is, if you just knew that, if you just knew on a deep, deep level, like, you know, if you pull your skin, it's going to hurt. Like, no brainer, duh. I just know that I am loved, worthy, connected, meaningful, whatever it is for you. Then what? What are you going to spend your time on? What are you going to spend your time thinking about and doing and talking about and acting? Like, what does that free you up to do and be and have? Was that 3 things or 4 things? I think that's 4. European style. So, dig into your own scary story today. Mwah. I want to hear them too, actually. If you don't mind posting them publicly, I would love to hear at least some of it below, particularly the scary story and what is at the core of it for you. And if you want to share more of it, but don't feel comfortable sharing it publicly, you're welcome to join my Facebook group, The Free and the Brave, which is a free group, and share it there or message me. Mwah.